Oh.
So can you ask Molly, does anybody want, I know Pete had a tour of the place. Does anybody want a quick tour of the place before we get started? Teresa says, sure.
Sure.
Okay, so, who, me? Oh, Pete. I just saw Orville Klein just came in. So this is the basement. Woo! Invisible Records. What a fucking mess. Pete said the other day, it's a miracle you can find anything. I'm like, oh my God, this is the tidiest it's ever been. This is the tidiest it's ever been. So there's just all kinds of stuff. Some things we were, hold on, I'm just admitting people while I try. We're just getting used to this, sorry. All kinds of crazy stuff all over. Hear this fucking bass drums? How many drum kits? Live room is full of t-shirts. This is our proudly brought to you by Dark Matter. I'm gonna have some of that in a minute. Here's our 1994 original scenery tribute to Newcastle Brown, which is now made down the street from me, and Heineken have just fucked it, I've got to say. The shit couch with the amazing get the fuck out of bed pillows. Oh, hello, what's that? Never mind. Awesome scenery. That's the ministry cage, repurposed by Test Department. And the shit letters stolen from Washington Mutual. And then here we are in the studio as it is right now. I'm looking forwards, tick-tock, looking forwards to, we're replacing the analog console and bringing in a new PreSonus console. We're going to be saying some big thanks to those guys, Albini's Tape Machine. We're going to be saying some big thanks to those guys during the unboxing video and really kind of take this place. Some really nice stuff in here. Taking this place to the next level. This is my favorite stuff down here. The intersound EQs and the tape delays. Oh, baby. Yeah, anyway, enough of that. Let's get to, here I am, injured. Can you see how badly my finger is mashed? I am so mashed. No, I think it looks pretty bad. I think the light might make it look, yeah, the light makes it look better, doesn't it? Or does it? Yeah, I don't know. He'll never drum again. Pete says, you couldn't fucking drum in the first place. Boom, boom. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give my camera to Molly, who was going to run this while I show you some stuff. But first, hold on a second. But first, so last week we looked at screen printing and how to make some of the stuff we're going to look at today. How to screen print using ink, how to screen print using scratch and sniff, glow in the dark, glitter. Somebody, if you remember the scene where I couldn't get the lid off a jam jar, yeah, that's me. Don't fuck with me, because someday soon I can get the lid off a jam jar. A woman from Sonoma, California emailed me and offered to send me an old person's jam jar opener. I guess that's where we're at. But I wanted to just mention a couple of things to you. I don't know, especially in America, maybe in England too, there's a kind of a what's the point kind of vibe. meaningless, perhaps, in a time of trouble and conflict. Like, but I have a quote from somebody at Cisco that said, creativity or a creative problem-solving mindset is the new job security. I'm like, oh, that's a really good quote for me to let students who are thinking of studying music industry, that it's not just about how can I sign the Rolling Stones or how do I discover the next rapper. It's about using your fucking mind, and it's about the only constant thing being change. That's not me, that's fucking Heraclitus, right? That's what the skill set is. It's being able to pivot, and as you're pivoting to the next thing on a dime, the lights go out, you're blindfolded, you're on a skateboard going backwards on a train with a hot cup of coffee upside down. And that's when you have to pivot again, because then that world tumbles. And that's what I've been doing every single fucking day. And that's what a creative problem-solving mindset is. Bruce Lee said, oh, this is like the quote section. Bruce Lee said, lying on his back in a hospital bed, if I was Bruce Lee lying on my back in a hospital bed, I'd just be crying. I'd be on Facebook Live going, I'm fucking Bruce Lee. What the fuck? Right? Show us some moves, Bruce. I can't. Get me an ice cube. I'm thirsty. But Bruce Lee wrote his first book lying on his bed in a hospital bed. Lying on his back, sorry. And he said, you need to make stepping stones out of stumbling blocks. That's a fucking, that's what we need to do every minute, every day. So let me take you through a practical example of all of this. We'll get to the packaging in a second. My friends at Dark Matter Coffee, this whole operation is fueled by their amazing coffee. My friends at Dark Matter Coffee have 7 stores and over 100 employees. And 2 weeks ago, when everything was shut down, they had to pivot. Like, oh shit, what are we going to do? They created a fund for their employees, which you can find online if you want to contribute. There's a GoFundMe for their employees. I think there's about $14,000 or $15,000 in there. And I donated $100. Ooh, okay, great. It's about the limit of what I can randomly donate to somebody. There's a lot of different places that need help. Then I took my creativity and I did that. To stay the fuck inside, coffee bag, shirt, poster. And I took 200 of those bags over to Dark Matter. Now, if you want to talk about economics, because we are talking about the economics of it, these bags cost $45 for 250. Of course, we shot a screen. There was some ink, FedEx, Kinko's, whatever you want. The print shop charged how much, Molly? $5 for the transparencies, whatever. And a few hours and some clothes pegs and some time. And those bags at Dark Matter Coffee last week generated almost $8,500. They sold 169 combination bags of get the fuck out of bed and stay the fuck inside. So that's a great example. Nice me contributes $100. Okay. And I definitely felt like, well, this is a fucking drop in the ocean. Creative me helped them generate nearly $10,000. And that's why this stuff is important. And that's why I emphasize this stuff, because this is the shit. Creativity can make a difference, and you can make a difference. Yes, you can. I've got another quote. My last quote that I'll read to you. I'm going to give the phone to Molly. Molly's wearing gloves, just so you know. I'm not wearing a mask, but Molly's wearing gloves. Oh, you got me, Molly, there?
Hold on 1 second.
Hey,
Pete.
I can see your head.
Pete, can you see me?
All
can
I
you hear me?
Is you.
Can you mute your audio?
Me?
Yeah. Anytime you like drop something, that switches to Pete. As much as he's a lovely man.
Oh, that's his technique.
Yeah.
Except
He's trying to
his new band t-shirt. This is a quote from Toni Morrison. She was quoted by Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle, really? That's hilarious.
It's a great quote. This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. That is how civilizations heal. Wow. So this is like quote city. I'm liking it. Okay. 2 more things before we get started. One, if you go to cdbaby.com, every day for like the next 7 days, you can enter to win 100 custom CDs, 50 custom classic t-shirts, and the Global Music Digital Distribution Bundle.
Rebecca can drop that link in the chat.
Rebecca, drop that link in the chat, which is pretty cool, right? So I showed you last week how to make one shirt, one bag, one album cover, and we're going to look at some other ingenious ways of packaging today. But CD Baby are trying to make a difference. They also, by the way, switched over their disc makers plant, I think in Philadelphia. They have 200 people online making the, not the masks, but the shields. In 2 days, they switched their whole operation to bang out shields. So big up to Tony Van Veen and the people at Disc Makers. That's really great. Also, when you enter that competition, you can also get a free copy of Band Smart. How good is it? I don't know. There's just lots of pages. There's a lot of pages. That's 650 pages, 620. You could go to martinatkins.com and get that, or you can go to the CD Baby site, enter their competition, they'll bounce you over. Now I'm going to get the sample line. This is a great chapter, by the way, in Bad Smart. I'm going to spill my get the fuck water on everything. Let me move this. Okay, let's start. Cheap and simple. This is just a Xerox folded up. Oh, that's kind of special fold. Hello, how are you doing? It's kind of nice paper. Can you see the grain on the paper? Wow, iPhone. You can see that grain. So it's just a Xerox folded up piece of paper. Pretty interesting. You go next level up, and this is a folded up piece of paper with some splatter spray. I would have signed and numbered these, but they didn't. I think maybe in a week or two's time, we'll look at creating the Museum of You and how you can create some longevity. But when you're making these packages, nicely spray splatter painted disc as well, and there's a little insert in there. So that feels like it's a step up. I don't know if it's a step up from that first one. More awesome craziness. If you are going to make this stuff yourself, here's the Action 5 in this badly glued, torn, kind of punk as fuck scenario here. I think this is their bad handiwork, not mine. And yeah, I would have loved to have seen a finished disc in here. But it says, for your information, we spent our entire cover budget on beer and cheap wine. We thought it'd be a good idea to make the covers of the only thing we had left, the package. So I kind of like it. I haven't listened to it, but I kind of like it. Somebody said, if you touch something, you're 60% more likely to buy it. So anything you're doing with your packaging that makes people go like that, like mentally, physically, right? It still works on the internet. If you zoom in and you click and you look at stuff, if people, anything you could do to make people more likely to do that is going to get you results. This is cool and disappointing at the same time. Looks like, see, I always do this. I always feel this because it looks like these things are hand glued.
Yeah, it looks like a collage.
And they're not. For me, I would have maybe done the collage as it is, but had one of these words. What's this word? Desperation. How appropriate. I would have had desperation be hand typed and glued so you would feel it, right? And it's just basically, this is like a sandwich bag, right? Not too far removed from our stay the fuck inside bag. It's just a sandwich bag slit halfway down, and once again, more just color Xeroxing. Isn't that expensive? Yeah, it is, but it isn't. It is and it isn't. You've got to be careful of the staples as well. Staples all the way around this thing. Maybe I would have glued or sewn this. So yeah, a few color Xeroxes can be expensive. So your per unit cost could be high, right? This might cost you $3 per unit, which is way more than your CD Baby per unit cost on 500 or 1,000 discs. Might be $1, $1.20. But if you have 500 discs made that cost you $1.50, what's that, Molly? $750? $750. Whereas if you make 10 of these for your gig and they cost you $3 each, that's $30. You know, so at least this handmade stuff, one at a time, gets you kind of started. This is interesting folded. I don't even know where I got this. Right, this is rubber stamps and brown paper. This might be printed. I'm not sure. Also inside is a photograph, which I can't get out, or I can. Photograph the disc, which is professionally made disc, and this kind of really cool current 001 is the first in the Crest series, right? So it's kind of arty as fuck, right? And I like this kind of stuff where it's like, ooh, I'm unpacking all of this stuff. A lot of work here, folding and gluing and cutting the slit. But who cares, right? You've got nothing but time. We've got all the time in the world, as they say. And also, I want to draw attention to, one, my badly wounded hand, and two, this string. If you go shopping for string, you see all different kinds of string, and I really particularly like this string. It just feels like this artist got the right string, right? Now, this, I think, takes this idea to the next level. So what I like about this is this, I mentioned earlier, we're going to do an unboxing video of the new console when it gets here in the studio. But this idea of like undoing the string, right, I think is really cool. And my friend Tom Whitaker took it to another level. His project is called VX. So here's a digipack, and you can buy these digipacks in hundreds. Some really interesting paper that's glued on, but then here's this wax. Can you see the VX? I'm trying to put, there you go. Ooh, VX. In the on the front cover. So I really like this. And if you're there, Tom, hi. But I would combine these two ideas, right? I would have this with the string, and then I would have the wax seal over the join in the string, which would mean you'd have to destroy the wax seal to open the disc. And now you just opened a financial door, right? We were all arty for a minute there, but you just opened a financial door, which is the want to play, want to keep mentality. Anytime I see something super awesome, I go into this want to play, want to keep mentality, where it's an easy way for you to double your sales, not with all of your fans, but with some of them who will buy two, one to open and one to not open. Which brings me to a little trip down memory lane. We can't talk about packaging without talking about this album. These are reissues, actually, stuck together, reissues of the Metal Box. This is the first album I played on in 1979. One song called Bad Baby was my audition. So there's so much to talk about with this. One, it was supposed to be sealed with this tape, which I think I'm the only person in the world with some of this tape left. Pete Jones probably remembers at one point the band had paid for, I want to say, 4,000 rolls of this stuff. So anytime anything went wrong, we'd fix it with pill tape. For instance, I would have come in today, here we go, you've broken your finger, it's all right. It's some fucking pill tape, that'll fix it. Or somebody like, fuck, a bus cut me off and trashed the front end of my car. No problem, some pill tape will fix it. But Richard Branson, fool that he is, the original version of this cost so much money. Even though the tape was made, he refused to spend the probably 2 cents to put the rolls of tape on a machine to seal this. I think the original version sold 60,000 copies really quickly. But if he had provided the means by which somebody could have said, never opened, mint condition, asterisk, this would be £300 today, probably. And I think, I'm not saying he would have sold 120,000 copies of the Metal Box instead of 60,000. He might have sold 80,000, which would more than have covered the price of having the boxes be sealed. But wait, the story doesn't stop there. Oh, shit. I had no, well, holy crap. That's like, this is so insanely, so how old is this, 40 years old?
Looks like it.
Well, you can see through it. Can you see through that? See through it. Wow. Well, that's interesting. Shouldn't be in there. So this was 3 12-inch singles inside this canister, and there's a physics reason for that. You can spread out the low end grooves more when you have 12 inches of vinyl than when you're only trying to put 8 minutes of music on one side instead of 25 minutes of music. But the other thing that we're trying to do with packaging is get to this magical point where we create a story. If your story is, hey, got a new song, fuck off. Everybody's got a new song. Yeah, but it's about quarantine, alone in my room. Aside from the fact that most goth tunes are always about that anyway, you have to differentiate yourself. And if you can create the story, that's where it gets interesting. So here's the lid of the Metal Box. And The Metal Box got good and bad reviews. I would probably say mainly bad reviews because it wasn't the Sex Pistols or what. Nobody understood what we were doing, least of all us. But after the good and bad reviews died down, there was an article in the regular newspapers about these punks who got into a fight. The fight spilled out of the house. It went into the street, police, ambulances, everybody. I'm like, what the hell has happened? They were making hash brownies in the lid of the Metal Box and got into a fight over who got the piece in the middle with the PIL logo on it. Sounds perfectly reasonable to me, but the stories just perpetuate themselves. And then there's an experiment in 2004, 2005, I think. I made a brownie in the lid of this for a video for my band called The Damage Manual. And the internet went crazy.
It was with Cole, right?
Cole was in there. Yeah. Cole was like sitting, I put the light on in the stove and Cole was just like waiting for brownies. But the internet went crazy. Why, you ask? My drumming, Chris Connolly's voice, the quality of the song. No, people were like, do not eat the brownie. This is not cookware safe aluminum or aluminium if you're tuning in from Europe. People were just like, do not eat the, by which time, of course, me and Cole were sitting on the kitchen floor. And also people were like, have you considered using white chocolate? I think you'll get a better result with it. Okay. So that's why I'm interested in packaging, is the stories we can create. Here's one, a band called Whaler. These are from the UK, 2008. It's an EP, and this sleeve is made from 30% elephant poo. What? Elephant poo. What's it sound like? I don't fucking know. I carry this around with me. I've taken this all over the world so I can say to people, it's elephant poo. Now, to me, shouldn't it be horse poo? Like, come on, branding consistency. Come on, Whaler, you fucks. One of my favorites. You might say, if you are smart and you can run a spreadsheet, you might look at time and energy invested in something. And I've got to tell you, there's no such thing as efficiency in any creative endeavor. There's either fucking awesome or not fucking awesome. And whatever it takes to get to fucking awesome is whatever it takes to get to fucking awesome. This is a band called The Music Box. I went to South by Southwest and I saw them playing on the street. And I want to say, it's got to be 10 years ago. It might be longer than 10 years ago. Oh, 2008. Oh, it's 12 years ago then. And it's kind of like not amazingly made spray paint and then Sharpie on the top. What's really insane is this. Kind of crazy. I asked the guys in the band, where do you get these made? This is cool as hell. And I'm the packaging guy, right? I'm like, whoa. Also reissued as a tiny bullshit CD. Where'd you get these bags made? And they're like, we make these ourselves. And the guy in the band opens the door of the van, and here's the bass player sitting away, pecking at a typewriter. I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. It's 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do one of these. But immediately, I had to buy two, didn't I? Because how else to show how completely different each one is? I had to buy two of them. And yeah, you don't want to linger on this too much because it's actually really disturbing. We like group sex, drugs, peaches and cream. in San Francisco and eating birds in the alley. Can we stay at your house? Yeah, no, will be my answer to that. Just, you can see, if you know anything about typewriters, which, I mean, not everybody's been to record stores these days, and I'm sure some people have never seen or operated a manual typewriter, but you can actually see, I can see, he typed, where they type bastard. Can you see that? It's like you can feel the force of somebody, like bam, bam, A-S-T-A-R-D, bastard. Like maybe the drummer did this one. Just crazy. Something else I want to mention to you is you don't have to sit trying to think of something amazing. There's amazing everywhere. And if you're inspired by something, as my beat on the Nine Inch Nails song Wish, I tell everybody all the time, it's Ballroom Blitz by The Sweet. I used to sit on the carpet watching them play Ballroom Blitz. And so Wish is basically like a sped up, fucked up Ballroom Blitz. Tell people where your inspiration comes from, right? There's a Cabaret Voltaire record. I've forgotten what it's called. And the packaging is sandpaper. So when you put it in, back into your record collection and pull it out, put it back in, pull it out, you're destroying the record to the left and the record to the right. I love that passive aggressive performance art, right? Of course, as a performer, you want your music to destroy the competition, but Cabaret Voltaire's album literally did that. And that's amazing until you realize that Guy Debord had a book called Memoir, released in 1959 in Paris, which was wrapped in sandpaper, and it did the same thing in the library. So I don't know if Cabaret Voltaire let people know what their inspiration was, but you should, right? Let's look at some more. Interesting, but bad. This was mass produced. I produced this album over in China and here in my studio in Chicago for a band called Snapline in Beijing. I love them, but they had silver screen printed on a CD case, and that's cool as hell until they get shipped and destroyed, and now this is just bullshit. So you got to be careful about that. 8-track cartridge. This took a bit to accomplish, but created some really interesting stories, none of which you would expect. I released the Pigface album 6, 15 years ago, 18 years ago, initially on 8-track cartridges. These sell for $100 now. Complete pain to create these, but interesting stories along the way. More of my stuff. Sorry, I love this. This is the Damage Manual limited edition. And is that cool? Is that cool as hell? And maybe I can pose the question to you. Which art supply store fabricated this amazing album cover for us? It was this fantastic boutique store called Home Depot, motherfucker. This is basement flooring. If you have a basement that has occasional dribbles and little bits of water coming in, you lay this down before the plywood, and so the water doesn't warp the floor or cause mold. And we cut it up. I had these digipacks made by disc makers with a printed back and a printed spine, and I think it makes the hand glued on cover look more legitimate when everything's surrounding it. Oh, there's Chris Connolly. Chris Connolly has a new book that just came out, by the way, and he's doing a virtual tour soon. what's his book called? I just ordered it. The heart has to beat before it can bleed, or so. Oh, somebody's going to correct me now. But I just
They're
ordered
mostly worried about their own leaking basements and how they use that to
how to fix a basement. Next week,
get a bunch of damage manual
tuck
albums.
pointing your basement. There's more interesting. This is a little bit reminiscent of Metal Box. It's a screened metal can with a booklet and CD inside, Iron Giant. What label is that on? Diminished Fifth Records. Where are they out of? I don't know where they're out of, but it's cool as hell. And don't be afraid to experiment.
The heart has to ache before it learns to beat.
What?
The heart has to ache before it learns to beat.
What does that have to do with anything?
That's the Chris Connolly thing.
Oh, okay.
Someone just corrected you.
I like mine though. The heart
Has to beat before.
You've got to put your heart in a bag before you can have excess baggage.
Heart has to stomp on it and.
What is it called again?
The heart has to ache before it learns to beat.
Wow.
All caps.
See, that's Chris Connolly. It's awesome, isn't it? So don't be afraid to experiment. This was like another trip to Home Depot, I think. This was floor mat, which is like, ooh, this is like, I don't know, a Joy Division video or something in the making, isn't it? But here we go. Uh-oh, didn't work. Too heavy for the shitty glue I used. So this just remains an experiment, as does this. I'm actually still working on this idea. This is a craft digipack for a DVD that I just spray glued and then spray painted some wallpaper on. It's cool as hell, isn't it? Right? So here's my other point about this. This is also an exercise in several things. Branding. Like, all right, yeah, here's our new album cover. We make music to fall asleep to. It's xylophones, it's made for children. And this is like metal spikes and it will cut you with syringes. Obviously, this is wrong for that project. For half of the industrial bands I know, this is perfect, right? How can we sharpen these spikes so anybody who touches this album loses a finger, right? Because that's who we are. Think about who you are as an artist and put that into your packaging. And once you've formalized that, visualized it, and made it, and you can look at it, that informs what you do as a band and as a brand. It informs your stage set, how you present yourself. Maybe you should be all cuddly and nice. I don't particularly like this piece of paper glued on this, but it's interesting. Velcro hand-stitched thing, as is Amy Bobrook's release, kind of like stitched together thing. Once again, I don't love it. Information stuck down the thing here. Could be a bio. I don't love it, but I like the zigzag stitching. I like the Touched by a Human. Is that a TV show?
Touched by an Angel.
Oh, okay. Oh, Touched by a Human is a lawsuit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, how are we doing on time?
It is like 20 minutes, 25?
What, 20 minutes left? 20 minutes in?
20 minutes left.
Okay, because I want to show you.
Also with quarantine time, so nothing matters. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got class though. I have a class. I want to show you a few more things that can offer some inspiration. Screen printing with a purpose. Once again, here's a craft digipack. Why would I hand screen limited edition copies of my 16 Days in China documentary? And there's that arty thing there, /500, right? That's an art thing. So you put like 247 or 500, and I would probably sign it. But while we were waiting for the commercial copies of the DVD to arrive, we were able to send this out. I have a DVD burner in the other room. We were able to send these out for review and to fans 8 weeks before we had the physical copies. So it's a way to get ahead of the promotion curve, create something that people might want to keep. Sticking with inspiration. This is a 7-inch single that we released. It's called Radio China, and there's a Snapline track from Beijing on the other side. And I bought a ton of posters from the Cultural Revolution, commemorating the Cultural Revolution in China, and folded the posters up differently to create, you can see how these are folded differently, to create different covers. There's 42. Sorry, what am I doing? There's 42 different covers. So we sell these in sets of 3 and 4, right? Just so, and in terms of being inspired, this is the Undertones Teenage Kicks. They couldn't afford to have 7-inch jackets made, so they went to Pronto Print, the English print shop, that had 11 by 17 posters made, and sat folding them to create the jackets. I didn't realize when I did this, I just thought I was being arty and cool. And then at some point, doing my packaging thing or doing my punk lecture, I was like, oh my God, I was inspired by the Undertones and their release. So you also create stories when you get together as a band to cut up pieces of damp basement plastic flooring prevention materials, or in the case of Touch and Go Records with their Big Black release, a bunch of albums sealed in the body bag. They thought it was going to be 2 hours. They spent 2 days round the clock, losing their minds, freaking out because they're touching brand new, but still body bags. The time spent with each other, the stories, it's an event in and of itself. And of course, it's a pre-release event because the release doesn't exist yet. So what a great way to get some pre-release publicity. When what are you doing? We're sealing body bags. I'm losing my mind. I'm going to talk to somebody. It's much more effective than, what are you doing? Well, we're hyping our new release. Fuck off. We get to some Holy Grail type stuff now. This is Moldova. Matt Moldova from San Francisco. Love this guy. Do we have a link for him?
We do, Rebecca. We have a link for his Facebook streaming events.
Boom. So how
Drop
weird
that
is this?
shit.
I've known Moldova for 12 years, 14, I don't know, 12 years. And just as I was tweeting this morning, I got an email. He's doing online live soldering, etc. workshops.
You can buy a kit for there's an April 23rd event. You can buy a kit for it so that you can solder with him.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have like first aid standing by? Moldova, I burnt my finger. I've already trapped it by a base cabinet, and now I've burnt it. So this is this release. And initially you're like, well, how interesting is that? Even though Molly is yawning, I still want you to hold in your mind the idea that this is interesting, right? How cool is that? But then I guess Moldova's like, oh, never mind. If we're going to do the song titles and circuitry, what else can we do with the circuitry?
It works better under the light. You can hear it better.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Sample list, brain dead, you fuck. Heroin kills, stay away from pills if you use cocaine, wake goodbye to your brain.
Can you guys hear that?
Can they hear it?
Yeah.
There's also
The cats love it.
there is a headphone thing. So the first video I saw,
Sounds like a Brian Brain record. That's funny.
the first video I saw is Moldova on a bus with headphones, playing his album. This is where it gets interesting. Not that it wasn't already. I've been all over the world with this. I think I have 3 versions of this.
There's Moldova's address. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's my address too. Oh! $50 a piece. I think I called Moldova as he released this. And I'm like, hey, Moldova, hey, Matt, how's it going? And this might be complete fantasy on my part. I might have made this up. But I think I remember. He's like, it's going good. We sold out. This is a limited edition of 500 at $50 a piece. So anybody want to do the math on that problem? $25,000. You know what it would take for you to get $25,000 from any label, an indie label? It's never, ever, ever, never, ever, never, ever, never, 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 ever going to happen, right? But here's the thing. So you're sitting there in San Francisco, fuck, 500 people just ordered it. It's sold out. But that's not a problem. That's an easily solvable problem. You got $25,000, and because you're doing something interesting, right? You know, there's 10 mates of Moldova going, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, fuck. Moldova's doing another one of his crazy releases. We're going to be soldering, burning our fingers, but he's going to have pizza and beer. Yeah, what stories came out of that crazy soldering session? Last point with this, if you're a creative person sitting at home going, yeah, I'm going to do something like that with my album. I'm just tweaking the last 8 mixes. We've mastered a few. I'm going through 8 different versions of track 3. One has got the cello, one's got the sitar. I'm not really sure. Fucking release something immediately. You know how many times I've listened to this album that I just talked about for 10 minutes and I've taken all over the world? I've never listened to it. I don't fucking care. It could be Moldova on here going, nah, you're an idiot. You just bought my thing and it's just a do. I don't care. I just love him and I love what he's doing. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Or you're just like, well, you should have listened. How can you endorse it? I'm endorsing his creativity. I fucking love this shit. Last couple of things I want to throw at you.
Oh, this is my favorite.
Marrow. This is, wow. This is their release, which has won a bunch of packaging awards. Sunshine Enema. It comes with a prescription that I seem to remember they sent me one, which I lost, and then I bought another one. It's a prescription, which I think was made out to me, no refills, right? It's just like an American prescription. And inside, with the cotton wool, on this got, how did this get sticky? Don't want to know. It's a USB for their music.
How much did that sell for?
Oh, yeah. I actually don't know. Something like this, I think that something that's going to delight your fans, I don't think it matters. I go to Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, $100 mixtape, $1,000 mixtape. You're selling connection and you're building bridges. So within certain parameters. I don't think the price is important. I think that's an easy $50. Yeah. Other things, we talked about this. For those of you who are with us for the second time, we're going to show this again, Molly. This is
Supercharged.
here we go.
Okay.
I could do that. But who's
Here,
going to do the
you
lights?
take this. You
Oh,
take
this is
this. I'll
going to
do
be
the
a
rest.
mess.
Yeah.
Ow, crikey. So this is another reason you should learn how to screen print. We'll be doing another screen printing thing. So this is glow in the dark ink. Molly, turn out the lights. Oh, well, there you go. You can see that. Oh, wow. That looks awesome. Does everybody agree? Yes. Adrian Halo says, yeah. And now, of course, we can't see a thing. Ow, I've broken my finger. Right? So let me give you the math on this. This sells for $60. It's signed and numbered. Signing and numbering is how you create the Museum of You. 300 copies of this is $18,000 or £19. It's nicely printed, just like a damage manual was printed, front, back, and the inside. 300 copies of this gets you $18,000, and now you have a budget to do something with, something more interesting, something else interesting. If you want to make $18,000 through downloading, that's 4.5 million downloads, right? I think selling 300 copies of something or 500 copies of Moldova, these are attainable numbers, or 100 copies of something, Nipsey Hussle's $100 mixtape, $1,000 mixtape. This is all achievable, attainable, instead of some pie in the sky record label bullshit. A couple of other things. You've seen my voodoo doll. Ah!
Oh, Pete has one. Sorry. It was cute.
You bastard. Fuck you. This is The Primitive Evolution is the name of this band. And I just want to illustrate a point. I bought this one on purpose. Right. Remember I said I haven't listened to Moldova's music. I've seen Moldova perform. He's amazing. He's actually guest lectured at Millikan University. Hi, any Millikan University students or alumni. Thanks for letting us do this. The bass player makes these. I don't want to bust her on this, but it's slightly badly made. But I don't care. I think it was $20, $25. I just wanted to support the band, right? And it's kind of has a different kind of vibe, kind of strangely awesome vibe. I assume she just screen printed sheets of these and then cut them out and sewed them in the van in the same way that Music Box typed their stuff in the van. So not that anybody's going to be in a van anymore, but other notables of the Mighty Atlas album on a
ray gun.
ray gun.
Oh my god! So the USB is like in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, it's there.
that's hilarious.
And it's also there's a cable, so you can play with the ray gun while you're listening to it. I don't love it. It feels like it's kind of getting fucked up. Also, you might want to note Flaming Lips, whose album is on a USB inside of a skull made out of gummy bear material. And I think mine, it was in the garage, and you could see where rats have like clawed half of this skull. But it's a really interesting, huge, expensive to ship. Who cares? Just a couple more USB releases. This is the Rollin' Rockers Bang Bang. It's like a little, great to take this through customs, but officer, it's an album on it. Yeah, sure it is. and this is Trouble out of Atlanta. My friend Tony Guidry, I think, was working with Trouble, and perfectly on brand for those guys. So there you go. More stories. I showed you how to print, scratch and sniff. Blueberry, and I did that. That's the reason I started throwing blueberry muffins at every single one of my lectures for the last 10 years. Sorry, Molly, I didn't mean to cough on you there. I was coughing into the muffin box.
Yeah. Hostess really has the packaging.
I guess this is just a way of showing you how different things create different stories. The story is never going to be, the New York Times said my album was amazing. It might be, but I prefer when I was at South by Southwest and I threw so many muffins into the audience that I just started to throw boxes of muffins. And I thought, fuck this, my arms are getting really tired, as of course they would. So I decided to drop kick and punt a box of muffins all the way to the back of the room. And as the box of muffins left my foot, I hear this immediate ba-bang, like way too soon for the box to be hitting anything, except Frank Wilkes, who I'm still friends with over in the UK, was walking past the front and was just smashed in the face with a box of muffins.
Great things happen when you do stuff. Nothing happens when you don't.
So I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm going to stick around for some questions. I do have a class coming up in a little while. But I hope this has given you reasons to do stuff, reasons to not be afraid to do stuff, and shown you the power of a creative problem-solving mindset. It's not just art. We're not just being arty. We're solving some shit, and we're making some things happen.
What's the next MMX Weekly?
Good question, Molly. Next week, same time, same channel. We're going to be joined by Galen Lee, winner of NPR's Tiny Desk. Why am I holding them up? Winner of NPR's Desk competition.
There she is, speak of the devil.
Hi.
How you doing?
And a total badass.
Good. This was a really fun class. I liked it. You might have convinced me to try to be crafty while I'm home.
True.
Cheers, Galen.
Cheers.
So Galen's going to be talking about life on the road, surviving as an artist. Somewhere we shot screens for you.
Yeah.
Galen. Oh,
I know, I'm excited.
They're
Yeah,
coming.
they work.
They did work.
I'm
was
trying to
like, on the counter with them.
What do you mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you think? We're idiots?
No, I just haven't. I missed that one. I didn't realize it was 10 in the morning. I missed that one. That was too. Now I'm awake, but I wasn't last week. Sorry.
Still hungover, probably.
I didn't know, but now I'm here.
But
Okay.
now I know.
So Galen's going to talk about.
But yeah, next week I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, what? What are you going to talk about?
Wait, what did you say? Sorry. Oh, okay.
Oh, this is
I'm going to be talking about like kind of this transition of what it looks like to be in two creators. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, no, we can't. So I'm going to paraphrase it for everybody else.
Hello?
Galen's going to talk about being on the road, disability rights, accessibility. Oh,
Are you there? Can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you, Galen. You've got glitchy. I'm paraphrasing it for you. Oh, she's frozen now.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
No? Can you hear me? You can't hear me.
Yes, we
This
You
is
can.
rough.
can't hear me at all?
We
Good.
can't.
I'm going to talk about what he said.
What is
Oh,
that?
man. Being
Okay, let me just.
a
Gail's going to
touring
talk about.
artist
Can you mute
and
Gail?
also
Gail's going
transitioning
to talk about
to COVID, like how do you make
accessibility,
a career? Yeah.
accessibility, being on the road, NPR fiddles. Accessibility, being on the road, NPR fiddles. That's what Galen's going to talk about. I didn't ask you this on the email, Galen. Would you be able to do a song? Would you set up to do a song next week at the end? Okay, well, I'm tuning in then. There's also a great chapter in the All Free Band Smart that Galen wrote about accessibility. And just so you know, we are taking profits from the Stay the Fucking Side t-shirt, and we just made a contribution to the
National Disabilities Rights Network.
Yes. Okay. You want to take some questions? Are there any questions over there, Mark?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me. Bloop. There you go.
Okay. I'm back. I'm going to go get some coffee. Any questions from anybody? See that? Every episode full of commercials.
Yeah, I've got to run, Martin. Nice seeing you, mate.
Nice
Good
to
stuff.
see you, mate.
I'll catch
Take
you
it
again
easy,
soon.
mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love you. Bye.
See you, mate. Love you too. Bye.
So, Martin, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, if you were going to start somewhere, like you have to wake your season at home, you'd still recommend making the packaging, right? Like get those printed somewhere and then make your own packaging. If you have a cool idea, like, or what's the like easy starting point for somebody who's not crafty like me?
Well, I don't mean this to sound like a commercial for my book, but I think if you were to read the chapter on packaging, and you might see somebody screen printing something, you're like, what the hell? But you might see somebody hand typing onto brown paper bags. And you might be like, well, hold on a minute. My neighbor has a typewriter. I can hear him clack, clackety, clack, clack all the time. I could borrow the typewriter. And so we're not talking about setting up a factory. We're talking about making 10. You know, you can make a video documenting the making of the 10 bags with the typewriter, and how you had to go across town to get a ribbon for this special typewriter that they don't make anymore, or whatever the story is. So the bags and the story create interest in the other thing. So you don't have to set up to make 1,000 anything. You could set up to make 10, and I think 10's a good number initially. You could set up to make 50 or 100, but I have a whole presentation on how to make an extra $100,000 presentation, and buried within there are 10 things you can do to make things more arty. And what those slides recommend is you sign and you number, and you give something a title, and you describe how you made it and when and where you made it, and the type of inks and the type of paper, all of the stuff that just gets into art territory. And so whether you're making 5 or 10 or 100, as long as you sign a number and you diligently catalog, this is number 80 of a series of 100. You could do another series 3 years down the line. You know, that will be series number 2, but sign and number them. You can use a sequential number stamp where every time you stamp a number, one of the numbers rotates. There's all these things you could do to make this stuff cool and collectible. And all you're doing really is building a bridge between yourself and people that love you and giving them a reason to connect. So think about the things that you do. I tell artists all the time, if all you do is play bass, you're fucked, right? You need to play bass, cook fish, crochet, be able to fix a vehicle and run social media, shoot video, and repair mandolins, right? So you need to have all of these different skills, and what are the skills that you could bring to bear to make something cool?
Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, I've got time for one more question.
Don Atkinson said, if you had to restart your career, what would you do to start off knowing what you know now? Speed.
That's an interesting question. What would I do? I'd be sober. Dun, dun, dun. We were out of our minds on speed. I drank a lot. I was 19, 20, 21. I was on American Bandstand when I was 21, traveling around the world, and I was just a stupid idiot. I was also very shy, so my shyness came out as drinking a lot to deal with that, and the substances that we were involved with enables us to drink even more. So it's just a bad outcome. And so there are some parts of my career that I remember with absolute crystal clarity. Arriving in Boston, the shows in New York and Great Gildersleeves and Atlanta 40 years ago. And there are some cities I don't remember. So I'm lucky to still be around, lucky to still remember a lot of it. I'm lucky to be having a blast and to have found teaching and education, to be honest. It's really, after the drums and my family, teaching is a really passion of mine. So, yeah. Is that it for the questions? Do you have any more questions, Mo? Okay, so thank you, everyone. This is the second MMX Weekly. MMX was a music conference created by students at Millikan University and held on the campus of Millikan University in the amazing Commons building with the support of the whole community. And so the blow of not being able to do that, May the 9th, May the 6th and 7th in Chicago, 8th and 9th in Decatur, Illinois, where Millikan University is based. It was a pretty heavy blow for us to take. The students have pivoted on a dime, and this is the second episode of MMX Weekly. There'll be another one next week, 10 a.m. Chicago time. I think Molly's going to bounce the link up, and that will be with Gaylin. I'm waiting for confirmation from my attorney, Jeff Becker, that he will be the week after. He represents the guy, what's the guy's name who does I'm Stuck at Home? Curtis Roach. So Jeff Becker is an amazing attorney, and I have a list of 20 people I want to have come and do this. I'm excited to have Gaylin join us next week, and thank you all for joining us this week. Stay safe, wash your fucking hands, stay the fucking side, be awesome, and don't forget the power of your creativity.
Stay the fucking side. The finger looks good. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Bye, guys.
See you, Gaylin. Bye.